Let's dive into the discussions shaping the nation.
Taoiseach, as we know, childhood is short, and children who are being failed by the state today do not have the luxury of time. There are massive negative consequences for any child who receives inappropriate schooling or, worse, no schooling at all. And yet, across the state, we're seeing systemic failures in provision for children with additional needs. And that is why, once again, we in Labour will be using our private members' time tomorrow morning to propose a motion on special education. And that motion has 9 sensible, simple and strategic asks, Taoiseach, to address the ongoing failures of this state to provide school places for children with special or additional educational needs. Taoiseach, we're all aware of this crisis because across the country we have all heard the immense frustration from parents, grandparents, siblings, teachers who are desperately trying to do all they can to ensure the children in their lives are provided with appropriate education. Parents are writing to all of us, to their TDs, they're sleeping out in the streets in protest, some are going to the courts, and all this in an effort to move your government to provide for that basic right to an education. And I want to quote that brilliant young activist whom I know you've met, Taoiseach, Cara Darmody. She has asked how Cabinet Ministers can expect the children of Ireland to grow up to respect the law when they see flagrant law breaking by their own government. And it's a fair point, because the simple fact is that the state has a legal obligation to vindicate the rights of all children to education, yet you're being taken to court for failing in that duty all the time. And while sometimes the state settles or the issue is resolved, Taoiseach, other times we see the state adopting an approach to such litigation like something we would expect from a faceless private corporation. And this shows contempt for children and for their families, because they want nothing more than a diagnosis and then an ability to get a suitable school place in their own community. And it's not a tall order, but those who take the cases feel they have no choice but to do so. It's not just children and their families crying out for help, Taoiseach, because we're also hearing the frustration from teachers, principals, SNAs and school staff. And I know you're hearing it, Taoiseach, I know your colleagues in government are hearing it. During the Easter recess last week, my colleague, our education spokesperson, Deputy Owen Kenny, attended the different teachers' conferences around the country. He engaged with and heard directly from teachers about their frustration on this issue. And a recurrent theme he heard about was desperate experiences. One primary teacher he spoke with who had 28 pupils, several with learning difficulties, just one SNA in the class. Another teacher who was told that no special class in the school would be sanctioned, despite having more than 10 children on a provisional waiting list. Taoiseach, ours is supposed to be the land of saints and scholars, but how can teachers be expected to teach when they're also expected to carry out the roles of therapist, of SNA, and our SNAs are so overburdened? Taoiseach, you often ask where are the solutions in this House. Well, I have a set of solutions here for you. We have our motion. It's before the House tomorrow. I'm asking you, Taoiseach, to commit to passing our motion and to giving parents and children the certainty and guarantee they need.
Taoiseach. Thank you, Deputy, for raising this very important issue, which is top of the government's priority in relation to special needs in general, and particularly special needs education. First of all, I would make the point that special education now accounts for about 28% of the entire education budget, a 48% increase in 4 years since 2020. Staffing has grown 27%, with 23,400 special needs assistants now in our school system. 23,400. Now, that's not a story of pulling back or regression or cuts or anything like that. It's one of expansion and growth, and it will continue to grow. We now have 124 special schools serving 9,112 pupils. 11 new ones opened since 2020, 5 more opening in this academic year in 2025-2026. The number of children attending special classes in mainstream schools has doubled over the past 5 years, from just over 9,000 in 2019 to almost 19,000 in 2024, with 3,335 special classes now in place to support them. Up to 2,700 new special education placements are planned for 2025-2026, including 400 new special classes and 300 special school places. 399 new special classes have already been sanctioned to date, and the remainder would follow. And an additional 1,200 places are available due to student movement. So we will provide up to 3,900 placements this year for about 3,275 seeking them. So the aim is to get a place for every child. There has been issues in terms of geography in certain locations and so on, but I just want to make the point that no stone has been left unturned in terms of getting a place for every child this September, because it is a constitutional right of every child to enjoy a constitution, to enjoy an education. And it is our obligation in government to vindicate that right. And it's far better that resources are allocated towards the schools as opposed to the courts any day. And that is always my objective, and that of the Minister for Education, Helen McEntee, and the Minister for Special Education, Michael Moynihan. And we're going to continue to work on this, both at primary and post-primary level, in terms of making sure that we do everything we possibly can. And there still are some challenges in the Dublin area in terms of speed of getting the special classes constructed, get the planning constraints and so on, but we're working flat out, and I know the two ministers in particular are on the special education front. On the assessment of need, we have developed and sanctioned already the National In-School Therapy programme, and that is now underway. That decision is being taken, and we will roll out a national system where we will have therapists starting in our special schools.
Well, Taoiseach, you've given us some figures, and of course there are some good news stories around the country. And indeed, I've visited schools with really superb facilities. I would acknowledge that. And there are some new builds that are really impressive. But as you've said yourself, there are still immense challenges. In the Dublin area, there are immense challenges. You speak of growth and expansion, but there isn't sufficient growth and expansion to meet the growing demand and the growing needs out there. I'll give you some figures. 14,221 children overdue in assessment of needs, nearly 13,000 awaiting first contact with the CDNT, and last September, shamefully, 126 children with special educational needs who were not given a school place that September. The immense frustration, the immense distress that the delay in accessing and securing appropriate places was causing for those children, for their parents, many of whom we've all met. So Taoiseach, the reality is that we've put forward in the Labour Party a set of 9 clear asks.
Thank you, Deputy.
A set of 9 clear asks, Taoiseach, in our motion tomorrow.
Thank you,
and I'm
Deputy.
asking you to take those on board. We're calling for the government to adopt a plan that will provide parents and crucially children with clarity and with appropriate school places.
As I said, the plan is there. We've already, in the past 5 years, provided 11 new special schools, 5 more set for 2025-2026. In terms of assessment of need, the High Court decision taken some years ago in respect of the preliminary assessment, or what was then the system being organised by the HSE, all of the experts come back to us in government and say that as a compounded the delay and the backlog in respect of assessment of need. Government is looking at legislative options to create a better screening programme to make sure we can do an ongoing assessment to try and deal with that backlog. And that's work on the way. And yesterday, the Cabinet Subcommittee on Disability took decisions in that respect, and Minister Norma Foley and Hildegard Naughton in the Department of Children made their contribution to that. And the important point is that it's interesting that the NCSE last year, the outgoing government approved the recruitment of up to 40-odd therapists to work with the National Council for Special Education in an advisory capacity for schools across the country. They've had a very strong recruitment. It's interesting, right? So they've had a very successful recruitment. And now the next phase will be a national school and therapy scheme whereby the NCSE on behalf of schools, for the special schools initially, will recruit therapists.
Thank you, Taoiseach.
Like, share, and subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.